Welcome, Titan 6 Actual and 3GX Mental Performance. Welcome you to Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line. I'm your co-host, Lou Greco from Titan 6 Actual, and alongside me is the brilliant Sarah Griffey Snyder from 3GX. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the human spirit, resilience, and the relentless pursuit of excellence. So whether you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking inspiration, this show is for you. We'll explore stories of triumph, setbacks, and unwavering determination that propels us forward. As a retired Army Engineer Reservist, I've faced challenges on the battlefield and beyond, and now I'm on a mission to help you discover your inner type.
And I'm Sarah, also known as Coach Grip, a mental performance coach. Together, we dive into the psychology of peak performance, mindset strategies, and how to overcome mental blocks. Whether you're aiming for the podium or simply striving for personal growth, we've got you covered. Join us as we explore the intersection of physical and mental strength, share expert insights, and celebrate those who go beyond the finish line. So grab your headphones, lace up your sneakers, and let's break barriers together. Remember, it's not just about crossing the finish line, it's about what lies beyond. Welcome to Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line. Stay tuned for upcoming episodes where we'll feature incredible guests, share practical tips, and ignite the fire within you.
First, I just want to, say thanks for hopping on here, being, willing to hop on here, Mark. It's an honor, obviously. And, just for those that are, watching, listening, Mark and I met through Ruck Beta a couple of years ago, and then got to work together on Ruckfest, where I came in, Titan 6 came in as a sponsor. And but I knew a little bit of Mark's background with the Go Ruck Selections winner and team assessment, world championships. Knew he was retired Army, former Marine. I know, former Marine, not the prior service. How about I put it that way?
I don't
Prior
want to jump
service.
on your shit for that, but
No. I know better, so I corrected myself. Prior service, and then most recently, I've had the pleasure of working with you with DECA and DECA Fit Ruck specifically, and got to see you do the DECA Fit Ultra this past weekend, which was pretty amazing. So, just starting off with that, I mean, anything, I'd feel remiss if I didn't give you all the accolades that you deserved, and then as we go through the podcast, kind of talk about breaking the barriers that were that got you through those tough challenges, but we'll get into that.
I mean, first and foremost, thank you. Episode 1, you're having me out of all the people in the world. Are you kidding?
We couldn't think of anyone better, man.
Right there.
Duh.
Yeah. With the bottom of the list, people just kept saying no, and you finally got to me.
Sarah, did you tell him? What the heck?
But shit, what a great name, Breaking Barriers. Like, that encompasses everything we're going to talk about and everything the path in life, really. It's just,
for sure.
It's just amazing to be part of it. So, yeah. But yeah, what an honor. I appreciate you guys. And I have questions for you too. You guys
awesome.
have had your own journeys.
Yes.
Watching your premiere episode. I mean, geez, to come to resilience. That's all you really have to say. Resilience. And I've never been down those roads of pain, and I'm not gonna ever get back to where I was. I've been very fortunate with injuries and stuff like that, but to have some serious stuff, Coach Grippy, I mean, you came back through some shit, which is amazing. And Lou, I mean, your brand is to believe in yourself and what you believe in, and you do it well, and it's coming from a dark place as well. So congratulations for both of you, figuring that part out, being resilient, and making it through. And without that, we wouldn't be here today.
That's right. Trying to help people pay it forward. I mean,
hell yeah.
You hit the nail on the head. Our mission, and it align so well, ours and 3GX, inspiring and empowering people, and then helping others do the same darn thing. So, with that, trying to build this massive community, hopefully, that's the goal. This massive community that just builds on each other, is there to help each other and improve by being there for each other. And that's all centered around the ethos. So, you want to know why you're one of the first people? Because I mean that resonates with you so well that it was just a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer having you on. So, but I
Well,
don't
thank
want
you.
to.
Where do you want to go? I mean, this can go in so many. I mean, the whole 3GX side of it and the mental resilience and
Yeah.
grit. I mean, let's
Well, you
let's hear it. What do you got?
you started off. I mean, perfect segue. It's like, breaking barriers. Great name, but the premise behind it, breaking barriers beyond the finish line, is just that. It's like I started with all your accolades because that's what most people know, and it's seldom that people will kind of like let you peek behind the veil and see all the darkness that you had to go through, whether it's physical, mental, whatever the case may be. And I think that there's a lot of value to, if someone is willing to, let you peek behind the veil. There's a lot of value to those viewers and listeners that may be struggling with the same thing and going, "Holy crap, I had no idea, but look at what he did in spite of that." So that's really the goal, the heart of all this. So I guess with that, if there's like your biggest failure, setback, test, obstacle in life, whether it's recent or from years ago, something that you want to share, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it's funny. We're doing this 8-hour drive to Cedar Park to do our Get Early program with the football team at Cedar Park, and you know we're talking about a lot of things on this drive, and one of those things is just going over the itinerary of what we're doing, and a piece of that is the
No.
No, that's all right.
Breaking barriers as we are podcasting, technical difficulties. This is the reality of life.
It
Like,
is. It is. That's right.
man, oh man, yeah.
It's too
Hey,
funny.
sorry. I mean, I anticipated that, but I thought we'd give it a go.
Nah, no worries.
All right,
No,
so
we were.
back on.
Yeah, well, we're gonna play. Have a little fun with that. Sarah's gonna do some funny editing, and
Yeah.
hey, we're
Oh,
just
that's
gonna
fine.
roll with it because that's what we got to
All
do in
right.
life, right? We got to roll with things. So
Yeah.
yeah. So no, you were
So
talking
I'm
about
back.
your
So
itinerary and talking about
yeah,
the
yeah. So
itinerary for Get Early.
so itinerary for Get Berlin this weekend. One of those is the DECA Fire, which is a variation of how to prepare for DECA, all body weight, right? And we do this every year as, kind of like a recertification for the kids, whether they're brand new or they've done it before, so they could see where they were last year, the previous year, their time. And the biggest thing we're doing is like, okay, we're gonna have one of the coaches do the demonstrations and all that. But we all know you can kind of cheese stick some of the exercises and not do them properly, right? So this picture just popped on in my mind that I wanted to like kind of draw on the board, being the great artist I am. And it's really like this guy on the podium, right? Number one on the podium, saying I got the top time. Well, is that the goal in life, to be number one, knowing that you didn't have the proper form, you didn't count the proper reps, and maybe you even just kind of bypass some some of the workout a little bit somehow, right? Or is it the guy that's maybe in the crowd looking at the podium, knowing in his head, I freaking crushed this. I beat my time from last year. My form was perfect. And I lost count a couple of times, but I did extra reps to ensure that there is no question at the end of the day. But I didn't get in the podium. What means more in life? And to me, that's a barrier in itself that we break. And how do we take that? And that's what's cool to see with the kids is that they're all in freaking competition go mode, and we're running around and like going crazy on the football field, like go squat lower, higher burpees, whatever, right? And you just see the intensity, and we need to check each other on a daily basis. Doesn't have to be physical. I always say, like, I'm the shopping cart Nazi in a parking lot. Like, if I see someone not put their shopping cart away, I assist in the way I do, and it's a simple spot check in life that we all need. And for us, talking about our program in the form, we're basically mirroring what they need to be. We don't have a mirror out in the field for everybody. So spot checking them and saying, do the squat lower, do the correct rep, just like we do in DECA, right? It's just, you're in the heat of the moment. Maybe not everything's perfect, but you have someone telling you what to do, and you're not freaking making their life miserable by telling them. You're just giving them the, hey, you could do this better. And I challenge you to be better. So, it gets you thinking, like, yeah, maybe I don't need to be in the podium. Maybe I just need to be as perfect as I could be, the best of myself every day in life. So
yeah, and showing that you're pushing, like you've set whatever achievement that you are striving for, and maybe it is the podium, but maybe you also have these intermediate things. You're like, well, as long as I do the reps properly, and as long as I do, like, forcing that integrity upon yourself, it's like, hey, you know what? As long as I know I've checked myself and I can do all those things, at the end of the day, it was still a good race. I mean, that's one way.
And that directly reflects with the ultra too, because I went into that. I could have gone and take.
Bye, Mark. I hope you find your dad. Like, that's how I feel right now.
We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Again.
Oh, man.
So.
All right. So anyway, with the ultra, you have two options, right? You could do age group, and you have like 10 hours to finish it. But I want to take the upper level. I don't want to say elite. I hate saying elite. I really just wanted the black bib over the red bib, honestly. But then there was a time hack attached to that with a 345. And now you enter an arena that's pass or fail. And fuck, I almost failed. When you're under a minute with 54 seconds to go to beat the time hack.
How close were you again? It was
56 seconds. I was 344.
It was under a minute. That's crazy.
But I'll tell you what, in that moment, goals, anticipations, Lou, you saw me. A lot of people saw me. They made it feel like I won the race when I finished. Everybody that was cheering for me, they're just saying, what a performance, even though it was me just sucking really badly, just making sure I just didn't stop. It was a kick in the balls, because, man, that was tough. was tough, and it was a gut check, and it really truly humbled me. But yeah, without the push of a team, there was no way I would have done that. That support I had out there was amazing, and that's what got me across that finish line on time.
You know,
So right there, there's a perfect example of what we're talking about, being in the podium. Does it always matter? Because think about it, 56 seconds. You know what the first thing I did after like peeled myself off the ground was? Do you know what it was, Lou? I wanted to check
you
that
were
lead.
hugging a bunch of people, and
I mean, they were hugging me, but the first
yeah.
thing I wanted to do was make damn sure I didn't have a penalty. Do you know how much I would have sucked to have a penalty?
Yeah.
That would have DQ'd me right on the spot with even a minute penalty.
Yeah,
Done.
right.
Right. So as soon as I got that clear, I was like, wow,
I didn't catch that.
That says right there, perfect laps. You know, even though his body was failing and all that, no penalties, everything was still in order, and it got done. And I mean, you can't, unless you're like actually watching or you had video content on it, you can't explain that. You can't, you know, doing an aerosol bike with two hands on one handle, no legs, because you use your legs to cramp. You use one arm, they're cramping, and yeah. So I mean, you saw it, that.
Just get it done. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
get it done.
and I know that yes, there's different waves, technically open, age group, and elite. And in my mind, depending on where you feel like you fit into, that's where it doesn't matter if it's open and you're racing against one person or if it's elite and 20 people. It's about the commitment and what you're looking to get out of this race. And that's kind of why you said, like, I could have done age group and I could have done elite. You notice right there, when you did end up doing elite, there was a pass or fail there. So there was an extra challenge that you had to feed into. And that's exactly why when you said I wanted to make sure that I didn't have any penalties, because technically that would have made you DNF, right? That would have been a fail because technically you would have been past the time the cutoff time, correct?
Cutoff time. Yep.
Yeah. So right there, even though it's like I don't have a real like, yes, podium would be cool. I think everybody kind of dreams about that, but I think people have gotten a little blind of what that actually means nowadays. And you are right, people. I hear it all the time from some gyms. If you ain't cheating, you're trying. And I'm just like, excuse me? Like, what do you mean by that? Like, if you're cheating yourself every single day, not just in this gym. You're cheating yourself in your work. You're cheating yourself being a good friend. You're cheating yourself of being a good family member. There's so many things you're cheating yourself just because you're like not putting your knee completely down on the lunges, or you're not what's something else like the box jumps. Like, there's a lot of technique that people will cheat out of, and they think, oh, it's just because I want to get a faster time. But then you're cheating yourself out in so many other things. And that's why we talk about this, because like, yeah, it's fitness, but how do you go about your daily life? Are you doing small cheats there too? And you notice, like, holy crap, like if I did not give my best form, I could have gotten a penalty. And that was terrifying to you because, like, you know how much work you just did to do everything as perfect as you possibly could to get those reps. If you got a little tired and you did one burpee wrong and you thought you got all 30, your time doesn't count anymore. Like, you DNF. So like, props to you to be able to put yourself into that extra stressed environment, because that's how we get better. If we purposely put ourselves in things that, yeah, we might not be equipped for it just yet, mentally or physically or emotionally, all of those things, but that one step closer of doing that is going to get us into that ability to do it maybe a little bit better next time.
Yeah, Sarah, you freaking nailed it. You cheat in the gym, you're cheating in life. You know, it doesn't stop just in place. That means you have spread that out throughout your life. Like, playing Monopoly, I know you're cheating. If you're cheating in the gym, like, it's gonna happen. So yeah, you nailed that. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
that's such a great point.
right, because people think, oh, nobody's watching, so, but usually someone's always watching. They may not say something, but and
And
your conscience is always watching you. So if
thank
that's
you.
not
That
talking to you, man, there's bigger issues.
Yeah.
that that
And
that
honestly, you also nail the second part of that too, is, you know, that's kind of my mentality in life. I like inaugural events, but I also like events that very little people have done, or the percentage of finishing is low, or there's a time cutoff. There's something that is not that could potentially stop you from finishing, right? And not finishing something has happened a few times in my life, but now that becomes the resilience piece. How do I figure this out? Because life is a puzzle, and if you attack something that you thought you were going to finish and you don't finish, now you hit that reset button, right? And I've done that with selection freaking 3 times to get to where I wanted, the event I wanted to finish, and got it done. But it took a lot, you know. There's guys that do it in their first time. That wasn't me. So, you know, I think I probably have the most hours in that event, total. With medical drop, not finishing, quitting, and then finally finishing. Uh, but yeah, I mean, it's how you take that after, because you should never enter something that you're not capable of or you don't want to go back to. If you go out there and challenge yourself in some way, finish it. Whether it's 2 years down the road, 10 years down the road, because like you said, Lou, someone's always watching. And when you have a family and you start creating your own fire team, your kids will find out of your failures and your successes in life, and probably hold it against you. And I just personally, I want to say, hey, yeah, I did fail, but then I did finish, and I did challenge myself, and I got it done, and I did train. And that's how it was. And these are the hours I trained, and this is what I had to sacrifice to get it done, and still have time for family. So life is a puzzle, and if you're just going for a small race or a big race or a multi-day race or some of the hardest things that are on them in the world, you got to figure it out if you want to even start that journey.
So I heard
100%.
you go. I'm sorry, Sarah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say 100% on that because um I know that we are in an endurance sport, so we're running a lot, we're lifting a lot, we're doing a lot of those things. I think people forget, and some people think, oh, I have to work out for 3, 4, 5 hours or competition for it to count. And people don't realize that, like, some people in the Olympics train their whole entire life to run 7 seconds really, really fast. And that's something too that people start to discredit on themselves. It's like, well, it wasn't long enough, so it doesn't really matter. And it's just like, do you know how much time and dedication it takes to run 7 seconds really, really fast? I know I don't want to do that. I know that I'm an endurance athlete. I'm really good at running longer distances, and that appeals to me. But sometimes we start to discredit those type of things just because time frames or how many people are watching. Oh, like, let's just talk about CrossFit. There's a lot of people that are watching CrossFit, so it's valued more. But now that the WNBA is starting to get big, all of a sudden it's also getting a lot of commotion. So all I was trying to say is, like, sometimes people downplay things because it's not being talked about a lot, but at the same time, like, time frames and kind of veered off a little bit of what my point was on this. But I guess what ultimately I was trying to say is that just because it might only be 7 seconds of time doesn't mean that it shouldn't be something to be proud of.
Absolutely, you should never discredit any of your accomplishments. There is no lower or higher. It's always get better. One of the most terrifying events in the world of athletics is the mile. You program a 1 mile time trial, it's off. Yeah, it's gonna be, this is hard. I don't want to do that, because you're dying in 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever.
Yeah, because
you're going to be on the ground.
Yeah, it's supposed to be run anaerobically. It's like, Jesus, that's that's hard at any age.
But that's the thing, though. Those fears. We say, starve fear, feed courage, right? That's our big thing. We say, starve fear. Everybody says, feed courage. And that's such a huge point in life. It's you kick that shit out of you. You get that mile done. And life, you still live. You're alive. And you get back into it and you're like, wow, I accomplished this based on everything else I've done. Like things are on track, or hey, I gotta work on things. It does so much with a 1 mile distance, you know. So yeah, go do your 100 milers. That's great. But things like that scare you is what you need to incorporate more in life. And that's exactly what I did, with the ultra. I woke up that morning, the kind of day we had, the trailers were late, no one slept, the nutrition's off. It wasn't a perfect race. It wasn't a perfect setup for a race. I woke up that morning and I said, hell no, I'm not signing up for this. No way. I can't. I'm so beat. Hour later, I had a bib in my hand. I had a bib in my hand with, after I registered. And I said, no, I told myself I was doing this. And why am I saying I'm not? Because I'm scared. So starve fear, beat courage. Was my training specific to DECA Ultra? Hell no. No, I don't have any of those machines. It's like you just figure it out. And I think a person that would just jump into it like I did would probably have failed. I almost failed. But it's the previous history, the events and goals that you accomplish in life, period, not just endurance events, challenges in life that you just snap to that place and it comes out of you and you just, no, nothing else matters. This is what I said I was going to do. This is where I'm going. And you have that adrenaline rush that gets you to where you want to go. And it's those big accomplishments in life that you can always reference for that mental ability to push you through something, an event where you don't have physical abilities. My body was completely shut down. My mind was still working. I still had a good resume of to reference to say, hey, you've been here in this, and this. We could do it.
So in the moment, is that what you were kind of thinking about when your arm was seizing up and you're like, what the heck? Like, how am I going to move forward on this? Like, what was going through your mind?
I'll tell you. So lap 4, I was discouraged. I was just in the mindset like this isn't happening. Doing the math in my head. I need this. The splits aren't going to be comparable. There's a very high chance it's not going to happen. And when you start to have doubt in yourself, you start to see doubt towards you and others. And I felt like everybody I was looking at, compared to the first 3 laps where I was getting go Mark from all kinds of random people I didn't know, I look up and I see one person just like hanging their head, he's not going to make it kind of style. Even you, I saw you and it's like, I don't know, and you had to have been thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the support of good people come and rip you a new one, and then push you to turn yourself inside out and get it done. So lap 4 compared to lap 5 were pretty comparable, and it was because of hey, this is what you came to do, and the yelling of, not that it was about the buckle, but having Yancey screaming in my ear, "You're gonna get a freaking buckle! You're gonna get a freaking buckle!" and just ripping me up. And he's been like a father figure to me for so long. It's like, how do you go back to your family and say I didn't get it done? So you think about all those things, and not to include Rocco's son, Gianni or Gio, looking at me every loop, just I'm like kind of his guy, for getting him into DECA, and have an 8-year-old cheer you on and give you that encouragement, and say, I can't let this kid down. I can't let, you just go into this whole, I can't let anybody down in life right now. I need to get this done, especially the peers, you're working with them. So all these things come into your mind when you start to have doubt, and you find ways to pick yourself up through little, personal experiences or visuals, uh, whatever your why was prior to entering the event in the first place.
Did you have a specific why for entering the race, or like do you have a mantra or a why that kind of carries you throughout life?
Yeah, I knew the cutoff was doable for me. I didn't think it would be that close, but I wanted that what if. Hey, this isn't a guarantee. I might not finish this, and I need to do these things to get there. But for me, entering it and saying I wanted to do it, my first reason was just an inaugural event, be the first to pave the way. I think that's what we do for everybody to follow us. To really just say, hey, it's been done. These people have done it. I'm going to do it next year. Because people are a little fearful about, registering for first events without knowing any kind of background or history with it. So that helps others get into the sport and get it done. But besides that, my why was really to be humbled. I knew podium wasn't a chance. That those guys are amazing athletes, and that's all they do is the high rocks DECA all year long. And that was not my intention at all to race with them. It was really to meet that cutoff and get it done and be part of that first group that finished. But outside of that, like I said, to be humbled, see where my fitness is, see what I need to work on, and that was a huge fear. I knew I was going to be broke. I knew I was going to be hurt, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And you experience that. And you have 5 specific muscle groups that hurt. That's what you need to work on. So yeah, you go through the ringer, but you know how to evolve and get better because of that pain and suffering.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of want to go slightly back to when you were first starting, about when you were not signed up yet, and then all of a sudden you have a bib in your hand and you're about to go out there. You said that you were scared, and something with the brain, like a lot of the time, I like to relate us to kind of going back to animals. If you look at animals, all they're doing every single day is trying to survive with shelter, food, and water. So when we get into that negative space, meaning you were like, oh man, like don't have a lot of food in me. I definitely didn't drink enough water. I am tired because I just sat up. I don't want to do this. Fear. So you're surviving right now. The brain doesn't really care about thriving. And that's where us being humans, we've evolved past that, this just the survival stage. And that's why you said, you know what, I'm going to be humbled by this. Animals really don't understand that. They're just, the go-getters. And then eventually when it has to be a survival mode, that, they have to back away. But as humans, like we have definitely tapped into a different portion of like thoughts and feelings and emotions that animals don't have. And that's why people were like, why do I think so negative all the time? Well, that's because your brain is purposely looking at those things to make sure you survive. Right when you were looking at that ultra, it's like, man, I don't know if I'm going to survive this. And you still did it anyways because you had a goal of being humbled behind it. And that's the difference between people that just won't go through the suck for a little bit and they just feed into the survival mode. And that's okay, but people aren't aware of that. And that's why I'm here to like talk about this, because you explained it perfectly. Why did that happen? I don't know. Well, if we look back to how we evolved, kind of, negative space is really easy for us to accidentally pay too much attention on and not the thriving portion. So I just wanted to say, like, the fact that you add that extra little humbleness, and then of course seeing people around like cheering you on and stuff, that's what kept you going. You realize, you're like, you know what, I don't want to not finish this, or not at least try. Like, you're going to be broken, it's going to be challenging, but you're up for that. Not everybody's always up for that, and it's because they tap into their the victim mentality, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great point. And there's also like we talked about earlier, the guarantees in life and the what ifs. So not to discredit age group, but any age grouper could have jumped into elite. There was nothing that you had to qualify for or anything. But an age grouper said, I either one, know that I can podium this, and that's what I'm going for my age group, or they said, I have 10 hours, I'll get it done at my own accord. There's no pressure. There's no way I'm going to go past 10 hours. I don't think anybody went past 10 hours, and every single person finished, but not everybody did in the elite side. And to think about, if there was just a 3:45 cutoff period, how many people would have even entered that space, right? Think about it that way. There's no age group, there's no elite, there's just a 3:45 cutoff. How many people would have immediately just not even show up? And that's what my encouragement is for everybody, is to attack that what if scenario. What if I fail? Well, then you freaking fail, right? And failure makes you stronger because you adapt and evolve and survive.
And you learn from it.
And that goes so far. Yeah, like think about like the early humans, like you were talking about, the insects, the animals. I mean, I walk through my garden every day and I'm seeing something dead, something thriving. I'm seeing the changes daily on that personal level. And then you see that, the changes in your body through your training, but nothing will ever show unless you are tested. And when you're tested, there are real results there in front of you that cannot be denied. Time is a time. You either pass or you fail, right? And it didn't matter to me. It didn't matter. That's what I wanted. I wanted to accept that there was the ability to fail today. Under these circumstances, especially when I'm saying no, I'm afraid. I don't want to do this. But I told myself I was going to do it. And I told others I was going to do it. And that's personal accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, you put yourself out there and you tell yourself and others you're going to do it, you got to get it done, right? At the end of the day, no one really cares. I could have crossed that finish line at 4 hours. They still would have given me the same love that I got with passing at 3:44. But there's that level of, well, I thought he was better. And I think that's what people really fear, is judgment from others. I'm sure it's like a big part of it. And that can affect you mentally in so many different ways. Just that thought of what others are thinking about you and your pass and fail scenarios, right? That can go so deep to really just stop you from even challenging yourself on levels that you could grow.
Yeah, I find that more so not for the judgment side, but like letting someone else down, especially when I know they're counting on me. It's like, no, I don't want to let that person down. I will like burn everything else down to make sure I don't let them down. That's a powerful motivator.
And now that Mark has just jumped off accidentally, what I was just going to say is, like, you even said that with our meetings when we meet so often. It's like, oh my God, I didn't get to finish this. Like, I don't want to let you down. And I'm just like, man, I appreciate you, doing the extra effort. And, us actually working together is keeping you accountable on certain things, especially us starting, these new projects, this podcast, the masterclass, us just trying to create a community. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I've seen you come on and you're just like, oh my, I didn't get to
Frazzled.
finish this. I am so sorry. I'm just like, dude, it's okay. Like,
Yeah.
but I appreciate the accountability because same thing every single week. I get to make sure that I'm also on top of everything because owning a business, you kind of get lost on some extra projects and you might accidentally start emailing everybody back and not getting to start projects. And then, oh my goodness, like I didn't get to start this yet like I expected, and then I might let somebody down. That
Right.
accountability is huge, and with this community, it's even bigger. And now, since I know that we're into rucking and stuff, for a little while, I was thinking about you actually doing this ultra with the ruck on your back, and I'm just trying to like, you didn't do that, right? You didn't put the ruck on your back, did you?
So I'm laughing because I don't think one person that has asked me about the ultra has not said, "Did you do it with a ruck on, or are you going to do it with a ruck on?"
I
And
I
it's
had
just
I
that's
did
all I've
have
done.
someone.
Now I feel like I let everybody down by not doing it with a ruck.
No, but someone was crazy enough to ask me, "Do you think they're going to incorporate the ruck into this?" And I was like, I wouldn't say no. When is a different story, but I wouldn't say it's off the table. I mean, I I think I gotta imagine, but please, you know, fill in the gaps here because I gotta imagine when you approached Yancey about, hey, what if we do this with a ruck on? It was probably after you like kicked ass on a fit and we're like, how can I make this harder? Oh wait, I know. I'm gonna throw 30 pounds on my back. So let's talk about this for a minute. What
Listen,
was it like? What,
I'd be lying to say I didn't think about it, but I knew I didn't even bother to ask Nancy because I knew it would be shut down right away. Only because this is the first one. We
oh
need to
yeah,
get this going first, and then I of course I'm going to test it down the road with the ruck. And the reason I didn't do it with the ruck for this is because I would jump into age group, and like I said, I wanted that pass fail challenge, and plus I always do the ruck, so I wanted to just see what I would do without it, and then go from there, and kind of you know maybe next year test it, and then it would maybe if we get ruck going big time, yeah, in 2 years definitely do it. But for the 10-hour cutoff, I think we would attract a lot of people uh, with the ruck. I think that could be the same cutoff, and people will still get it done. I have no doubt. But it would be cool to see the psycho elites with the ruck and what their times would be. I think
newbie.
they would still go sub 4.
Yeah,
That's just sick to think about.
I would put money on newbie doing that for sure.
Yeah, yeah, it would be cool to see him go.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But no, I figured you hadn't gotten crazy enough to introduce a conversation about the ruck in the ultra yet. But like when you were talking, I guess initially about strapping on a ruck for the regular Deca fit, how did that whole conversation go down?
Well, that's the thing. It's like I tested it for about a year with strong, mile, and fit without even talking about it with the team. And then once I grew, I already had a game plan in place. So really, all he had to do is give the thumbs up, and I just took care of everything else. Getting the
Wh-
rugs, taking a hold of the division, having all the answers needed right then and there. So I mean, that was easy. Plus, being great friends, and he believes
That
in
helps.
that.
Yeah.
It was pretty easy. But
So were you
for the
just
ultra,
training? Were you
yeah,
just
yeah,
saying
no, I
it
just
was a training thing to have some more weight on you so it'd make the race easier? That was our growing
yeah,
up. That was always our coach's motto: is like you train hard
Yeah.
so the event is easy.
Mhm.
and that mentality stays true to a lot of things. I call it the donut on the bat. Before you go up to bat in baseball, you get a couple donuts on there, swing heavy, and then the bat's light, right? Donut for life, donuts for life. But no, it was during COVID, and DECA just came out, and I was all about jumping on that new wagon of the hybrid space, and me doing all the ruck stuff. I was like, well, this is doable with a ruck. Let's just test it out and see what happens. And after getting my butt kicked so many times, I was like, this needs to be incorporated. It's very easy. You just bring your ruck and do basically the same thing. It's just a new division. We're not creating a new race for us. It's already here. Just add a ruck to it, right?
Right.
So it just having that game plan, I think it was easy for Yancey to say yes. I don't have one for the ultra because being a lead by example, I haven't tested it. So I'm not going to bring it and say, let's do a ruck if I haven't done it yet, right? I need to test it first before that conversation even happens. Although I know he knows I want it. Of course he knows I want it. But I just don't think it was the right time to even talk about it.
No, of course.
And just with everything that you have accomplished in the past too, and like clearly we're talking about the ultra that you just did last weekend, but I'm thinking about how did you even get to the mindset that you have now? It seems like there's just been a lot of like little pieces throughout your life that you've collected and created, and now that you are who you are today, I'm just kind of curious on like how you evolved the way that you think now.
It's funny. I was just my my buddy came over to get me this morning, and I was out of my car. He was like, "Were you wearing gardening gloves and carrying like plants?" And I was like, "Yep, yep." And we're talking on this trip. I said, "I've become my grandmother, and not having family. I remember her growing up because she would punish me by digging holes. Right? Every time I got in trouble, she either hit me real hard. She had strong hands from working outside all day, or make me dig a hole. And I dug a lot of holes. So uh, that kind of I guess got me prepared for the Marines because we dug a lot of foxholes during that time. So like I was the guy everybody wanted to be with, and I knew how to dig holes. Um, but really, out of high school, not having family back, like I've been on my own since 16, and that's because I haven't had the family support that people have, either staying in the basement or college funds to, to go off or whatever, support from family to do stuff out of high school. I really didn't have a plan. It was just a random trip to the chow hall at high school, and a Marine recruiter came up to me, and I said, "Okay, sign me up. You'll take care of me. I got it." I didn't know what a Marine was. I didn't know the branches. I didn't know secret special ops guys or any of that stuff. I just said, I need a plan. And 4 years, I'll figure it out. And, when I went to boot camp and we hit the obstacle course for the first time, we hit a phase in the Marines where you have your handcuffs rolled up a little bit. You have your go fasters on. So we're at the point of this kind of evolutionary state in our next phase in boot camp. You got to wear boots. You got those green boot bands, right, to blouse your pants and blouse your boots, and that shows you're at the next stage, next level. You've passed. Well, I'm talking about this now, saying like everybody should know how to freaking climb a rope with videos, CrossFit, and all that. But this was before that time, where I never touched a rope in my life. I'm not going to climb it. But at the end of the obstacle course, you had to climb the rope. You got down, you got your poop pants. It's a big reward. I couldn't get up the rope. I could not get up that rope. And right then and there was like the first big failure in life where I said, if they kick me out, I have nowhere to go. I have nowhere to go. If they're going to kick me out, I have no home. I just moved out of my buddy's house. I had no money, no finances. So you got to get up that rope tomorrow, right? Because they give you one more chance. So I did the whole thing, and that all that was flowing through my brain. I couldn't sleep at all that night. I was just, I'm getting up that rope. That's all that was on my mind, and I did. And I didn't have any kind of like special J hook uh, training or any of that. It was more just that mental determination, fortitude of, oh, it's gonna happen because I need to. I have no other option. Right. So when you're backed into a corner like that, things that you don't believe that you can do, you can get done for sure. Um, and from there, it just spiraled, and that whole life, the 21 years in the military, and all the events of, hey, let's go. I always remember the half marathon that I did without even knowing what it was. In like a couple weeks, I jumped into it, throwing up, and then it just went from there. Let's do the marathon. What's that like? The qualifications for Boston, all the different standards that would come out. And starting to research the hardest races and events in the world, and just trying to be that small percentage of people that go out and do things that the rest of the world doesn't even think about. And that's, with everything else, that's really how it grew. It's just one challenge after another, right?
That's incredible.
And that's where we all came from, right? We all have our stories and fights and internal battles of why we're doing something. And at the end of the day, it's about the training. The training is what it's all about. The event's cool because it's the finish line. It's literally the finish line of all the hard work and dedication you put into it. But when you get there, there's a sense of disappointment. You're like, oh man, that's it. Because you have this built up expectation of what it's going to be. I don't know. Some people might be like rainbows, sunshine, unicorns, you know, it's there's badge, good job, and you keep going through the line and you move on, right? And from there, it's where you take it. But the best part about it is the community. You go to these events and you realize there's so many similarities with people that have had the struggles and whys of exactly what you're doing. And when you connect with those people, it truly is beyond the brotherhood in the military. It's completely different. We have that grind that we go through there, but when you branch off, it's like scissors have been cut between you for the most part. I know a lot of guys stay connected, but for me, it's been hard to keep connected with people that are still doing the same thing, smoking, drinking, not in the fitness world. And then you're meeting so many great people every month, every weekend, every year that are just in the same fitness world that you're in, conquering the same kind of goals, and then conquering the same challenges. But it's the mindset. It's like you did this, and I saw this twitch in your eye, and what were you thinking? And what sparked? What place did you go to make this happen? And that's what I love most about all of this is hearing the stories. Like, man, I went to a freaking place and I saw a big troll come out of the woods and smash a pumpkin, and I was scared and I ran faster or whatever. Like the multi-day events, and you're seeing hallucinations and everybody's talking about what they saw in the woods. To me, that gets me. That's kind of part of the addiction. Keep going back.
And it literally all started with you digging holes. It's like that's where you said so much right there, so much. And yeah, you're just digging holes. And this is what is so interesting to me with this world, is because like people don't see what you do as a young kid and how you have like dealt with life has shaped you to who you are now. And that's why I asked you that question. Like I know it was going to be a long answer, but like that's awesome. Like it just started with something small, and then like you saw that fire of like, man, like I need to be able to commit myself to this. And I know the circumstances weren't great, but that's what fueled your fire at that time. And that's all some people need. It's like you have to find a reason, you have to find a purpose. And if you don't know what it is, what scares you? What's terrifying right now? And lean into that so you can keep getting stronger, better, and faster when you don't really know what that exact direction is. So no, that was awesome. Like you're just like, I just started digging holes, and that's how I used to like get punished, and how I had to learn lessons. And sometimes it is that simple, but people aren't aware of that. Like it's so cool that you were able to actually tap into that little bit of your life to realize like that's kind of where it started, or at least somewhat where it started.
Yeah, and it was by I didn't really have a choice to dig holes, so it wasn't I just went out there and started digging holes. Remember, I had no choice. This was a punishment, and
Right.
you know, it also reminds you of when we do these events and you see the parents with their kids, it really truly goes into that certain stage of life where you as a parent or a child are basically gonna do whatever your parents are doing or whatever your kids are, they are your role models, and if you're active and healthy and fit, then they're gonna follow your steps and be alongside of you. And it's so cool to see that each month at DECA and all these other events. And that's exactly where I want to be when my kids get older. I want to be running alongside of them uh, for as long as I can,
Mm.
because it goes freaking fast. And it's always said life goes too fast, but you gotta you gotta fight that battle. Like, no, you're not getting me today. And you're not getting me tomorrow or 10 years down the road, 20 years. Oh, I'm freaking living to 100, and I'm still going to be active and fighting and swinging until I'm 6 feet under.
Mm.
And I'm going to do it as much as I can with my family and the people that look up to me and want to partake in this journey with me. And that's really, the biggest thing that goes through my head. Uh, I want to keep going and going and going.
I think because especially because you have two young boys, um, it's like they're going to watch everything you do more than they listen. Yeah, they're going to listen, right? But they're watching, and by witnessing your resilience, your determination, that I'm sure eventually they'll hear some of these stories as well. But like to to be able to say, yeah, this could have gone sideways. I could have gone down a very, very bad path because I didn't have role models, and didn't have a plan, didn't have a support system. But you figured it out. You found a way to immerse yourself in something even without really knowing what it was. I say it all the time. Joining the army was the best decision I ever made, or one of, at least at that time, it was one of the best for sure. And it just set the stage. And then from there, you're constantly like you're making those decisions where it's like, okay, maybe I don't have a plan yet, but I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna figure it the fuck out, right? Whatever you're confronted with, even if you don't know for sure, you got to find a way through it. But like, when do you think you first had someone that you would consider a role model?
Sorry, say that again.
When do you think you first encountered someone that you look back to as a role model or a mentor?
It's so hard to say. You meet so many people in life, different arenas. I I just think good people are role models. When I meet a good person, I don't care about your accomplishments in life. You're a good person, and you know we're all about that lifestyle, just getting it done. And like you said, I call it FitFo. Figure the fuck out. Like that FitFo lifestyle is exactly who you want in your life, because you're not taking no for an answer. And, I have two people in my life right now. The guy I'm riding with and Jens Pope. And I'm doing this event, Get Burly event with him this weekend. I mean, what better scenario than to work with your best friends and people that you aspire to be like and that are your role models and that challenge you and push your limits. Because you saw without Yancey getting into my shit, I wasn't me in that time hack. He got me to that place that got me to turn myself inside out. I go through this program and I learn something new about leadership, being a good person, how to starve that fear, feed that courage. Every single year I go to this event. So being around those kind of people means way more than someone that might be on a podium and I look up to them, that, or even people that you'll never meet. For me personally, I used to spend a lot of time watching mainstream sports, and like in the good old days, Michael Jordan, and the teams that are memorable and the people we talk about still to today. And that gets you to a certain point. But do you meet them? Do you know what kind of person they are? Are you shedding blood with them and sweat, side by side? No, you're not. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen for everybody, right? But for these people that come into your life, they're the ones, and they could be dead last in an event. And think about that. How did they push through that? Because being dead last is not easy. You're out there 2-3 times longer than anybody else. That everybody's finished. You're almost alone most of the time, right? There's a lot that's involved with that. There's a lot that's involved of being ahead, in the middle, and back. It's an emotional roller coaster in every direction. But it's the people on that journey. And those are the people that you meet all the time that become people that you aspire in life, that become your role models, that you learn from, that you connect with, and you start doing more and more with them, and you share that same determination and grit with each passing moment in these events. So I would say those two guys, but I mean, over the years, there's been so many people that I've looked up to and I've had life lessons with.
That's
and of
incredible.
course, you guys are freaking awesome. I mean, your stories can't be passed off.
Come on.
I mean, they've hit that decade mark though of knowing them. So I guess if you're in my life for a decade, you're in it. So let's check off the years, guys.
Yeah. And something that I love about her sport too, like when I first started it, like I know that the season kind of starts in Florida, and I thought that I was only going to see people from Florida. And then I started going to Georgia, and I thought I was only going to see people from Georgia. That is not true at all. Like I was traveling to like the west side, the east side, Canada. I was seeing the same people over and over again, plus new people, of course. But like what you brought up about like role models, those people that I see day in and day out, like traveling across the country, just doing these races, those people are my role models because like they do create that community for you. You get to be with them all the time. And of course, when I finally get to see you guys again, like I saw Mark. What's the last time I saw you in Colorado? We were rucking next to each other. We were burping and just suffering together, surviving, not suffering, surviving.
You almost got me. Yeah.
I was like, what, 20 seconds off of you or something, maybe 30. But still, like that was just awesome to experience because like I was in Colorado for my friend's wedding and I was like, hey, like Colorado Spring. I mean, we were in Denver, so the gym was only about 20 minutes away. So I decided to go for it. And then I got to see Mark again. We chatted, and then we're all of a sudden we're racing our rucks with each other. It was just an awesome experience because I don't get to do that all the time. Like not every single venue is exactly the same, and not everybody always comes to those same venues. But when I see my A1s, it's like, yeah, let's have some fun here. Like this is what it's all about.
Yeah. And Robin after that event, she has the quote of the year. I think it's, if you could do a decafit ruck, you could do anything in life. It's like anytime there's doubt, she goes, "We'll do a decafit ruck, and then that's all you need in life. You could do anything." Like and you got to understand, like Robin, right? On Deca,
Yeah.
she's she's a badass in herself, and freaking has that grit. But she got into rucking because she wanted to qualify for world championships, and that was her way to do it. And that's another, like, you're telling me you're going to qualify for a world championship by doing something which most people would be scared of and say would be harder, right? Let's just do it with extra 30 pounds so I can qualify. And it's just funny to think about that mindset of people and where they're willing to take themselves. Um, yeah, but you almost got me on that race. I was a little nervous. You were there.
Honestly, I was surprised, kind of like we were talking about the circumstances not being great. I just was at a wedding, I'm probably not eating the best, probably not drinking the best. I definitely did not have enough sleep. And then didn't we have to wait on the ruck for a little bit? Like it was scheduled to be earlier in time, but then it ended up being pushed back a lot. And once again, when should I eat? Should I eat now? Should I eat later? And all the circumstances in my mind didn't feel like it felt great, but I was up for that challenge. I'm like, you know what? I'm all the way in Colorado right now. Like my RV was in Pennsylvania. If people don't know it, I RV full time. You could talk about it later with me if you want to. But anyways, at the time, my rig was in Pennsylvania, so I ended up flying into Colorado at that time. And yeah, the circumstances were tough, and I was like, this might be my only opportunity to actually qualify for Worlds, because I know that I couldn't make the last event. I don't think I'm going to be able to go to Pennsylvania. So the circumstances, I decided to roll with it. And I'm glad I did. It hurt. My lungs were not great. The multi-surface ground, because we had half turf, half ooh, he's gone again, of course. We had half turf, we had half court, and then we also had ramps. I don't know if you heard about the DECA road show in Colorado, but I liked it because it gave my feet something to pay attention to. It's like, okay, I'm on the court side. Okay, there's a ramp. Okay, I'm on the turf side. And it was interesting for me because when you're in a DECA event, I think that sometimes I accidentally go in La La Land when I do, if there's two loops that I have to do, I don't know where I am anymore. And I think at that event, you had to do 3. And that was really tough and challenging to remember. So, of course, I keep the time on my watch. So if I don't know where I'm at, I just, okay, I'm only a minute in, even though it felt like 15 minutes of running
Yeah,
at that time.
I do the same thing because that race brain is real.
It is real, but it was just certain things like that that I do remember, and it does humble you. It's just like, yeah, the circumstances weren't great, but I'm out here doing it and I'm trying it out. And you know what? I almost got to beat Mark, and that was also really fun.
I was gonna say, I mean, here we are again. You're in a scenario where you can wait for an easier route to come about or take the hard one. So you took a hard one. You traveled, you had the wedding, you had elevation, you had the multi-turf, you had the little bit of elevation with those ramps in the arena, and the 3 laps. There's so many factors that came into play that you attacked. And I mean, that again, we've been talking about this whole time, like, attack the harder scenario. Take the
Right.
path, don't take the path of least resistance, like, challenge yourself. And yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. And you did incredible under all the circumstances, definitely.
And I actually forgot about this detail too. I don't have a ruck, and when I flew in, I completely didn't bring a ruck. Yeah, now you know where this story is going. I was like, oh, where's the rucks? You're like, oh, it was in like the disclosure that we weren't going to have them. But Cirrus, is that how you pronounce it? I always pronounce their
Yeah.
gym wrong. Yeah,
Yep.
Cirrus had some of their rucks, and I was like, okay, I can at least use one of their backpacks, but I didn't have any weight for it. So the gym had like a weight area that I ran over to get some plates. So I'm not kidding you. I had these like round plates in my bag, and you should have seen how raw my neck was, my back was. And right when I started running off, I said, yep, this is gonna hurt. And I knew it within 10 seconds of me running. But did
I
I stop?
immediately regret this decision.
Yeah. Like, did I regret the decision? I mean, I'm glad that I'm glad I didn't not do it. I'm glad I did it. But yeah, those thoughts were not, they weren't great in the beginning. And it was like, should I even do this? Like, should I just, because my friends still had something going on later that day. They wanted to go to Red Rocks for a concert. So I'm like, now I might have to rush to go do that. Maybe I should just go hang out with my friends. And no, I took the rounded plates. I have all the rashes. I don't even know if I've still like scars on my back and stuff, but you know what? I'm happy because now I qualify for Worlds, and that's something that I get to do in December. And that was the goal ultimately anyways. And the surviving, not suffering, surviving that I did was worth it.
So I gotta say, the body when it's going through pain, that's it saying stop, 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 right? And you bypass that, and now it's your brain saying, should I stop? And is this going to affect the wedding? Is this going to affect other things in life? Am I going to have scars or blood all over the place? Or, I mean, I think that's really the point where you can really like have a bold circle around where uh mental abilities like really progress from, is that you're in your head, you're saying, I got to do this, but this hurts, this sucks, but I said I was going to do it, and no, I'm going to finish all this training. But you just have these scenarios that you're going back and forth on, and it's like you're almost convincing yourself not to do something you set out to do, not necessarily based on fear, but based on the pain you started to endure right off the bat, and you already went down the line of what's going to happen based off this pain in the first couple minutes. So I ask you, like, what in that scenario keeps you going and says, I'm not tapping out because I'm feeling this pain and I know this is ripping me up and it's going to be bad by the end.
Well, if you want me to go on the short version of it, I'm actually probably in pain like every single day. Before this podcast, my stomach was starting to bother me because I was having a flare up. I have Crohn's disease. So like that I found out back in high school. Why did I find out? Is because my back had herniated and bulging discs, and I also tore my ACL. So that was the only reason why I found out that I had Crohn's disease, because I was playing basketball pretty heavily. And when I tore, well, my back was giving out, but I didn't really pay attention to it too much until I tore my ACL. And then I was like, you know what? I have all this time to go to doctors now because I can't go to practice and do my thing. So the fact that ultimately when I first tore my first ACL, I did what my physical therapist gave me, but did I actually train to be able to play basketball again? Absolutely not. I had no idea. I was unaware of that. And when I came back for my very first year, I never want to experience the way my body felt coming back from not playing after a year. I felt pins and needles all through my body. I felt like I just did not prepare myself like I thought. I thought I was just the shit, honestly. Like I was like, oh, I'm just going to come back just fine. Completely false. Completely false. So whenever times like that happen, when my circumstances are great, I'm like, I've gone through so much, like the amount of doctor's appointments that I've gone through, and still, like, I know that I'm in remission at this day, but I have to get surgical procedures all the time. I just had one last April. That's why I was home, because I had to get my doctor's appointments done to make sure that I don't relapse. So yeah, when people ask me, how do I do this stuff? Well, when I tell people this story, they're like, why are you doing this stuff still? Like, I can't believe you're just making more pain for yourself. And the way I look at it, it's like, I could be pain just sitting, because like that's what I was doing before talking to you guys. Like before this podcast, I was working and I'm like my stomach started to get into a little funk. So I could be pain just sitting here, or I could actually go do something that's really, really tough and have pain through that. So that's the way that I look at it. And when I see pain now, it's more of like, wow, I'm actually accomplishing things. Now, if I'm sitting there and I have pain, I don't feel like I'm accomplishing anything. I'm just like, I'm just rotting away here. So yes, like it's a kind of a bummer that I have to fuel pain as a way to keep moving past things. But I learned that at age, my back went out in 7th grade, so I was in middle school at that time. I remember just walking up steps and I just collapsed. So it started around there. But my very first surgery was a freshman in high school, and then I also found out about my Crohn's then. So it's been a very long journey, and honestly, I feel like I finally figured out my life whenever I was about 25, and that was only 5 years ago. So like there was a massive back and forth of like pain and how to adjust to it, how to cope with it. And that's honestly why I got into this mental stuff in the first place, is because I wish I had somebody to talk to about everything that I was going through. And I had no clue how to get this stuff off of my chest. How did I get it off my chest? I did more fitness. I really was just masking the pain at that point. So then I needed to actually release it in other forms. And that is honestly why I am who I am now.
So incredible. I love that. Hey, I can have pain rotting away, or I can have pain achieving something in life.
Like I'm going to choose
That's
the
it.
pain that I get.
Exactly.
Choose
It's a
yourself.
weird way to go about it,
Choosing
but
additional pain. It's not weird. I think it's amazing. It's a hope story. It's freaking. It's what most people should do, because you hear it all the time. You know, my wife's a nurse and she's going through a nurse practitioner school, and she comes home and tells me these stories, and it's really like people that want to people that just want that quick fix. They're like, I want to lose weight. Where's that freaking pill that everybody's doing, or where's that, whatever it is now, the shot, or
yeah.
like, I want that quick weight loss. And they're literally like, okay, writing prescriptions because they're just sick and tired of telling people, hey, well, why don't you start with exercise? Because nobody wants that. They just want the freaking whatever it is, the
You
hot
want to change
item
your habits.
for weight loss. Yeah, nobody wants to put in the hard work. They just sit, and it's sad that they don't want to waste their time informing people of health and fitness and a good lifestyle and how to be active. That's that's the prescription. I know this might go get you on track. You know, oh, I wish it was covered by insurance. I don't know. Maybe it is in some places, but they don't want to take that route. They don't want to hear about that route. And when you're shut down so many times because this person that she's working with uh, has gone through that and really tried to push that envelope, but she's just been shut down. She's like, I'm just done with it. I'm tired of it. Like I'm gonna spend my energy with my health and fitness, and if nobody else wants it, like okay, write the prescription, have a good life. It's sad on both sides. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
If people put the same effort, I mean, look, I enjoy snacking, but I also hate how I feel when I overdo it. Or, same thing. It's nice to have a day off from working out and training and whatnot, but if it goes too far, you know, too much of that, same thing. Coming back, I can't imagine, Sarah, you know, a whole year off and then having to come back. It's daunting. I mean, I went through a couple of Achilles ruptures, and those were months, not a year. And I was like, oh my God, this is like crazy starting from ground zero. But yeah, it's
I mean, before you even get to ground zero, though, it's all that time you have that routine in life and what you're doing, and what your progressions, your goals, your journeys. And then all of a sudden, in a blink of an eye, you went from maybe you're 90% of the way of your initial objective, and then shut down to like you can't do anything, or at least you have someone saying you can't do anything or shouldn't
Right.
do anything,
Right.
and you're popping pills, you're sitting down, and the weight's building up. Like, enjoy life. I'm not saying I freaking eat salads every day or, you know, exercise nonstop. I enjoy stuff too, and that's what you should do is enjoy life. And if you want to eat ice cream, eat ice cream. If you want to freaking have pizza or beer, whatever. I'm not saying any of that because I do that and I enjoy it. But it's the moderation piece, and that goes into fitness too. Like, moderation goes there too. You overdo it, you're gonna get hurt, and you're gonna put yourself in a state of having that mental freaking psychotic mode of I literally broke myself, and I'm in a position that I can't do what I want to do now. And that, like I said, it's moderation throughout on both sides of it. Physically, what you choose to eat, what you choose to do. And that it's really all about that mental state and what you're doing to yourself to get there. Because I couldn't imagine. I mean, I was so broke after that ultra and so many other events, and some events I'm just like, oh, never again, never. I'm freaking done. I'm retired. I'm not. I'm getting out of this shit. I'm not going back. A couple of days later, all right, what are we
Yeah.
training for next?
Yeah, your version of broken and mine, we must have different definitions because so I turn around at the end and we start breaking down like what within a half an hour of everything finishing up, and I'm looking over, I'm like, man, Mark's right at it, like not skipping a beat.
I
Just
skipped a
getting
few
right into
beats.
the tear down. I'm like, Jesus, this guy's a machine. I'd have been broke.
No, the first thing I said at dinner that night was, I'm not going to do this to you again, Yancy, because usually I'm freaking 100 times faster, and I wasn't living up to that after that event, and that's what really got to me is that I wasn't able to put out what I came here to do, what my job is, what I'm getting paid to do, and I'm letting the team down, and that's really all I was thinking about. Uh, so if I'm in a place where the ultra is during my time of work, obviously I got to pass next time. As much as I would want to do I look at the team first, and are my personal efforts, going to affect them? And in this case, it was a yes. For the fits, no. There's always a chance you can get hurt, but it's very low compared to that ultra. So um, that that's what really got to me. I couldn't fulfill my obligations for the team afterwards. You say it was
Well,
still going, but I'm telling you,
yeah,
I skipped a few
from
beats.
the outside looking in, man, I was like, look at him go.
Man. And I kind of wanted to touch back on when you were saying about like moderation. And I think this is where people get slightly a bad relationship with what's good and what's bad. And especially when it comes to like the health crazes, like it's kind of comical to me that some people think carbs are bad and you shouldn't eat fat and like sugar is terrible. I'm like, where are you getting your information from? Like the internet? It's to the point where it's like when I tell people that I try to drink a gallon of water because I'm probably depleting my like fluids in my body, probably 2 gallons of that. And people are like, why? Like, oh my God, be careful. You might drown yourself. I'm just like, once again, like I brought that up to a nurse. Yeah, thank you for laughing. I brought that up to a nurse one time and she looked at me. She's like, do you know how much water you have to drink to drown yourself? I said, thank you. Thank you for making me feel better about that. But once again, like I just think that this world is uneducated on what actual true things are because of what the world is feeding us. Like I people need to stop following influencers. They're just trying to make some money. They're trying to get their views. They're going to tell you whatever to get you to like it. And also too, like when it comes to um just the general stuff, Carbs, yes, some carbs are bad, but what kind of carbs are you eating? Eating certain things like rice and potatoes, those aren't bad. But once again, like if you want to eat some other carbs in a different like genre, like let's just say some type of candies or something more sugary based like brownies, that's okay, but within moderation. And when we say moderation, it's more about being acceptant of yourself. And I think that's one of the things that people don't like realize. It's not about the food you're eating, it's about you accepting. Are you letting yourself have that permission? Are you allowing yourself to have this little treat? When you eat that treat and then you make yourself feel bad about it, that's not you allowing to have some fun. That's not moderation. You're basically making yourself feel bad about this. And it also with moderation with fitness. I know some people out there, they think they need to do more, more, and more. It's OCR hybrid. I've never seen where people think they're not doing enough. And it's to the point where it's like, hey, actually dial back a little bit. And with your fitness, maybe not try to do more physical when kind of like what we were talking about injuries, but also let's talk about just people doing so much physical activity. Sometimes just doing some mental training, visualizing and getting yourself and manifesting you trying to get, maybe if we are shooting for one of the top 5 spots for world, manifesting that can do so much for you that people don't even realize. They're like, hey, you don't have to work out for another hour. If you actually just think for like 20 minutes about what you want to do and accomplish, you're already writing your script about what you're going to be doing for that event, because you're preparing yourself mentally for it. So when you walk onto that court, stage, arena, whatever it may be, now you've set the story for you. And that's something that people don't realize when it comes to that moderation. Like, yes, let's dial back on the fitness. Let's do some mental training. And it doesn't even have to be mental training. Let's just focus on the other elements that people don't really realize, like recovery. It's mind blowing that people don't realize recovery. Just taking a nap. We don't have to do red light therapy all the time. We don't have to go to a sauna. We don't have to do cold plunges all the time. Just take a nap. That's that simple. And those are the things that I think once again veered off a little bit. But when we talk about moderation, I just think that moderation can be more than just having like a couple cookies in your like in a day.
What you're talking about with the mental side, I call that mental rehearsals. You sit down, close your eyes, and visualize exactly what you're doing. And we do the same thing in the military before a big op. You do rehearsals over and over and over again. So by the time you get to the scenario, it's muscle memory by then. You've done it 1,000 times before. And if you're doing that in your head, okay, I'm going to 1, I'm doing this, it's got to be in this time, I'm running these laps in this time, and I'm back to, I go into 2. And I kind of sing it a little ditty when I'm doing my laps, so I don't mess up. Go around past 1 and into 2. It's stupid little things like that you can do prior, during, after for any kind of recovery. But yeah, you're absolutely right. That mental conditioning is absolutely huge. It could probably equate to an hour or more of physical training.
Yeah, in high school, I had a same basketball coach who would have us rehearse free throws, not physically. We would do it, and then as part of our recovery, rest, we would sit down, close our eyes, and he'd be like, "All right, visualize you making them, for the next 5 minutes." And at that age, you're just like, "What the heck is this? This is crazy." And then years later, it's like, "Oh, I guess he was on to something."
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That goes so far.
Yeah,
I definitely encourage people to dig a 3-foot hole out in the yard, and then also close your eyes, sit down for just 10 minutes. Sit down in complete silence with your eyes closed 10 minutes. And if you have an event coming up, go through that event in your mind from start to finish. Every little bit, every step you can envision. every sip of water, every bite of food, anything that you would do in that event, go through every little bit of it. And I say that because there was a guy that came into my life and he talked about the pain and say say my ankle hurts. He'd say, well, go to the complete opposite side of your body. Let's start on your head. And for people that have hair, you start at every little piece of hair. Does this hurt? No. Okay, we're good there. Okay. And as much as you can tolerate, then move to your ears and your nose and your chin. And just work your way down. And by the time you get down to your ankle, it's like you completely forgot about it because you checked in with everything else in your life and your body, and you realize it's not as bad as I thought because the focus isn't there anymore. You've spread it out throughout your body, and you've made that pain kind of almost disappear in a way. So I kind of think about that when I'm going through pain too. It's like, okay, what doesn't hurt and how can I use it?
I love that. I mean, that's I've now walked away from this podcast with a little nugget. That and the Star Fear. I love that. I'm gonna start singing that in my head too.
Oh, dude, follow Get Burley,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
you'll see this weekend for sure. And those kids, man, when we're getting them fired up, oh, hey, trust me, just watch it because Yancey will probably do a lot of posts. Michael, the owner of Get Burley, will do a lot of posts. So it's gonna be an epic weekend. Just follow it and see what it's all about.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right.
Mark, I just wanted to touch on that little sitting for 10 minutes and going through like the pain and starting from your head down to your ankle. It's kind of weird that you brought up actually one of my exercises in my training book. It's a body scan, and it's exactly the same way. It can be in different forms. It can be about like releasing tension and relaxation or understanding pain reasons. And when you were explaining that, I was like, huh, let me find where that is in my book.
Oh, did I not reference your book? I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. I'm just
You
kidding.
didn't,
I
you
didn't.
don't
I
have
haven't
to
read it
reference
yet.
the book at all, but I just thought it was funny while you're talking about that. I was like, oh my goodness gracious, you're actually bringing up one of the exercises that I have in the book, because like it is so beneficial. Like sometimes just going through head to toe and analyzing little bit by bit, it can be in your body and it can be about your event. And it's just really cool that you explained it that way, because you got to experience certain things like that and you've seen it work. And that's the thing. Like this is another thing that people are skeptical about. That won't work.
Right.
That seems insane.
You
And it's
just
just like,
proved it.
just try it. Just try it.
Yep.
And that's the thing too. If you're not accepting what you're doing, you just think this is like voodoo or something. Yeah, it's not going to work for you. You have to commit to it. You have to accept what you're doing. You have to understand why you're doing it for it to actually work for you. So thank you for just accidentally, bringing that up, because that was awesome. I was like, huh, how'd that work out? It just,
I know where that's from. And you have to believe in it too. You have to believe in it. And I think you totally believe in it in those 10 minutes, because I know for me, when you sit there and in your perfect upright position, legs crossed, and you're like, okay, minute one, you're completely dialed in and focused on what your initial intention was. You start feeling other little pains and discomforts in your body, and then it starts to trickle into thinking about your day and other things, maybe a noise outside, and that's part of the discipline. It's like, no, you gotta bubble, shut everything out, and give 100% intention on what you uh, came sat came to begin with. Why you were meditating to begin with. And if you can't stay true to that, for me, I just have to shut it down. Like, okay, I got a minute out of this. I'm not going to force the 10 minutes because I'm not 100% there. And if you're not focused or driven, it's not, to me, that's not a quit. It's saying I'm not giving my full intention for this, and I can do better. So,
Yeah.
and it's
Well,
you got to build. We don't know if 10 minutes is for everybody, and maybe it's not for me every day. You know.
if we actually look at how things are supposed to be mastered, like let's talk about yoga, and I know meditation is part of that too, but for you to actually master a yoga pose, you have to be able to hold that position for 3 hours. So, right. And I'm not, even corpse pose, you can't fall asleep. That doesn't count. But to master a yoga pose, you have to do it for 3 hours. So that's what I'm saying this
Cumulative?
because, yeah, all through, like at hour one, hour two, hour three. That's you mastering the
All
pose.
straight through. I got it. Jesus.
Yeah. So when we talk about meditation, like you said, maybe 10 minutes isn't going to be for me today. Yeah, because technically meditation is kind of the same theory with that. I don't know if it's mastering it for 3 hours, but like the monks and people that meditate regularly, they can do it for 10 hours straight. Like that's mastering, in my opinion. I hope that's mastering by that point. But
That's avatar
any
state.
exactly. But what I mean by that is like when you meditate and like you said, you couldn't really focus and you only got 1 minute in it. That's okay. Now if you feel like your mind is going and veering off, the way that we talk about with meditation, it's like you accept that the thought came through, but then you will release it, let it free, and then allow your brain to go back into the state of meditation. Doesn't mean that you fail the meditation. That's what the brain does. Like we subconsciously think about things and accidentally just our mind will go back to, okay, I'm not working, but starting to think about work. You have a time crunch, you accidentally start thinking about that. When you meditate and you have those type of worries in front of you, yeah, your mind's going to accidentally pay attention to those things. So if something does come through your when you're trying to have zero thoughts going through your brain, it's okay to accept it and then let it free. But if that keeps happening, then yeah, maybe it only is going to be a minute. Maybe it's only going to be 3 minutes. Maybe it's only going to be 30 seconds at that time. But you finally got some clarity in your day, and you trying is that's how confidence is made. The more and more you keep trying and putting yourself into that state, 1 minute's going to turn into 2 minutes is going to turn to 10 minutes is going to turn to 15, but then one day it might go back to 1. That is okay. And that's what people don't realize, that life is going to be a roller coaster. It's not a bad thing. Like it's all right. Like some days you want to lay in bed all day because you're tired, and other days you want to run around. Like you're not going to have the same energy levels every single day. And I feel like this applies here too.
That is an excellent point. I feel like we should just stop there because you just freaking like gave the best explanation that I've heard in a long time, and it really gave me a tidbit to bring back to my personal, you know, bit of meditation that I do from time to time. And man, I can't wait to try it. Can't wait to try it. I do that a lot on these trips too. You know, it kind of gets me set for the day, and I'm envisioning everything we're gonna do and how the day is gonna play out. And
No. No.
We had such a good roll going.
I know. Well, hopefully he pops back up, but I do agree with him. I think that was a good time. Yeah, here he comes back. It's a good
Yeah.
time to close out.
Yeah,
Anyways,
sounds
I
good.
thought it was, yeah, cool.
sorry, but yeah, I mean that's a field goal. uh, but yeah, that is an amazing way to set me off for my next event or my next meditation state. And man, appreciate you guys.
All right. Well, we absolutely loved having you on, getting to chat, getting a little raw, getting behind the scenes, breaking those barriers. And something that was brought up as a possibility was maybe introducing a potential next guest, right? So if there was someone that you would like to see on the next podcast, if we were able to make that happen, who would it be? And then the second
know,
part is, what would
go ahead.
you have us ask them?
Well, see, I already had the answer in play, and you know who that is. But now you got me thinking about this yoga master thing. I'm intrigued. Yoga master, 3 hour pose to master. That's crazy.
It is crazy.
So if I would do two, one, it's gotta be Nancy, and then actually it's three because you gotta have Mike on the show too to talk about Get Burley because you guys are gonna see it. It's very fresh. You're gonna see it this weekend, and it might be something that just goes back to back with them. And I'm sure Yancey would probably say Michael anyway. Um, but I gotta say the yoga master's got to be one, and I'm hoping someone down the road finds one to get on the show. But I got to stick with it as Yancey and spreading that deck of love first and foremost. So
Yeah. Well, if anyone
and then
listening
whoever he
or
picks is on
watching,
him.
yeah, if anyone listening or watching is or knows a yoga master, reach out to us.
Yeah. And did you have the question? Did I miss it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So
Okay.
for each or for any of those potential guests, what would you have us ask?
For him, I would want to know how his transition, how does he become the person he is today? We know when we see Yancey, it's a person we want to be on. We want to be around, right? And that's hard because I don't feel like and I don't want to get it. I don't feel like anybody has that feeling of when I enter a room, everybody wants to be around me mentality. But when he does, he's just very positive, and people migrate towards that, and I think that's something that people would want to know. Like, how do you get to that state of positivity, and how did that progress in life? How did you get there, basically?
Yeah.
And what does that look like in the future?
Yeah. No, I think that's a fantastic question, and I'm
Wrote it
eager to
down.
hear the response.
We need more optimism and positivity in this world for sure, especially now.
100%. 100%.
If we can get 1% of the world to listen to this and listen to the way things worked out in his life to get to this point or to that point, and then we apply it, we make the world better, little by little, right?
I don't think it was it was happenstance that I met you or Sarah or Yancey, or the community that you've already talked about, like how positive they are, and the energy that we get to experience and benefit from by being around it. So I'm grateful for that and glad to be a part of it.
Well, sure, I
Yeah.
can't wait. Let's get him on tomorrow.
Right. Well, Mark, it was great to have you. It was a fantastic conversation, and we're looking forward to seeing where Deca evolves more and more. And hopefully these rucks won't get heavier, but we all know that all three of us will be up for that challenge.
Yes.
Deca ruck heavy.
Right.
Coming soon.
I love it. It's kind of like the well, we can't call it masters, but go ruck. The Deca ruck heavy or something to that effect.
Deca heavy, yeah. I think that's how they called it in the Spartan games back when they were testing it out in the first place. But it wasn't a ruck. I think it was just heavier weights. But
It was
anyways,
the strong, yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate
right.
you guys. Thank you for having me as number one. It's probably one of the few ones I'll get in life, but I'll take it. I appreciate you guys.
You said you
for
like the
having me.
inaugural, so there you go. You have it.
Yeah, back to back. You can't beat that.
No.
And this one, there was no pain in this one.
Right. Oh man. Well, take care, man. We will see you
Yeah,
at the
safe
next
travels.
DECA event. Other than that, I hope we see you on the next episode. Everybody take care.
Thank you for joining us on this exhilarating journey through resilience, determination, and the pursuit of excellence. As we wrap up this episode of Breaking Barriers Beyond the Finish Line, remember that the finish line is really just the beginning. Keep pushing your limits, breaking down walls and reaching for the stars. So whether you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, or simply someone seeking inspiration, know that you have the power to go beyond what you thought was possible.
If you enjoyed today's episode, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more captivating stories, expert insights, and practical tips. And don't forget to share this podcast with fellow dream chasers and barrier breakers. Until next time, this is Grip and Lou signing off, keeping breaking barriers, my friends. Remember, it is not about the finish line. It's about what lies beyond it, and it starts with you.